Hello, my name is Levine and welcome to my channel. I hope you are having a fantastically whimsical day, and if not, I hope this video makes your day just a little bit better. In today's video, we're going to be continuing reading through the ABCs of my TBR, and we're on to the second letter of the alphabet, B. So if you haven't watched the first vlog where we read 4 books that started with the letter A from my TBR, you don't have to watch that, but it'd be cool if you watched that one as well. In that video, we picked 4 books out of a cup for me to read that all started with the letter A to help kind of bring my TBR down some. And today we're going to be doing the exact same thing with the letter B. But this time the cup is Wally and Eve. We just got this cup on vacation, so hopefully this new cup will give me some great picks. I have them all folded up in there so that way I can't see what I'm picking. We'll go ahead and pick out 4. I've tried to only put the ones that I have access to currently through either me owning them or the library, but last time we did this, one book that I thought I had access to, I no longer had access to, so that may happen in this one. But let's go ahead and pick out the first book. Give it a good shake. Okay, so book number 1. Book number 1 is The Bones of Ruin. And I have a tiny little cover here for all the books, but I'll put a big cover up here for you. Second book. Book number 2 is Birmingham Sunday. This one is a non-fiction book. So we have 1 fiction, 1 non-fiction. Let's see what our third book is. Our third book is The Blood Trials. And our last book. So far we've gotten some good picks. I'm very excited for all these. What's gonna be our last book? Our last book is The Burning Girls. So we have 3 fiction books and 1 non-fiction book. I'm really happy with this. B's had a lot of good books that, like, as I was putting them in and seeing if I would have access to them from my TBR to put them into the cup, I was like, ooh, that one looks good. I should start reading that one. Ooh, that one looks good. I should read that one. Ooh, hopefully I pick that one. When we finally come around to reading each of these, I'll tell you more about them. But for right now, let's go ahead and get started reading and get into the first book. The first book we're going to be reading out of our B books that have been selected for us is going to be The Burning Girls by C.J. Tudor. I didn't look too deeply into what it's about, but it's a thriller horror, and I am super in the mood for a thriller horror. I don't know what I was expecting from a title like The Burning Girls, but I was a little bit shocked whenever it was a thriller horror, but that is exactly what I'm in the mood for. So I'm super excited to start reading this book, and I'll keep you updated.
2 hours later.
So I'm about an hour, maybe 2 hours into The Burning Girls, but I thought I would let you know what it's about, what we're thinking so far. So there's like a couple different timelines, but I don't know if we're following all the timelines in, like, with them being present moment, if that makes sense. We have in the 1800s a bunch of Protestants were burned, kind of like the Salem witch hunt, except for they weren't burned because they were witches. And then 2 of the people who were burned were actually like 2 children. They were burned right in front of this church. And the small town that the church still stands in will make these like little tiny twig dolls to remember them, to ward them off, whatever, just in memory of those burning girls. Essentially, that's where we get the title of the book from. And then we had the book opened up with a guy coming in to a room. It kind of seemed like an exorcist situation that had kind of gone wrong. And then that was it. And then we also have another timeline of these two girls in like the 80s, I believe. 80s or 90s went missing, but no one assumed that they were kidnapped. They just assumed that they ran away from home. They're like two 15-year-old girls, but no one ever like really knew what happened to them in the small town as well. Everything's taking place in the small town. And then our main character is a priest, pastor, has like the little collar for the Church of England, and something happened with a little girl at her current church, and it makes the church look bad, so they've moved her essentially as punishment, without saying that it's punishment, to this church where all the other things were happening, where our story takes place. And so now they're there, and things are starting to get suspicious. People are being suspicious. People are being weird and creepy. When we've seen some things that are like, ooh, things are happening. So it's kind of all coming together. It looks like we've seen a little bit of the guy at the very beginning of the book. I know I'm explaining this poorly. I'm so sorry. But it's a lot. It's a lot. The guy at the very beginning of the book who went into the room that was like an exorcism, he was the pastor who was at this church before, but he died. Some think he killed himself, some think he didn't. And so that timeline is really close to our current timeline, but it seems like we're still following him a little bit, as well as following our main character. And then it also seems like we're following the girls from the 80s. But the only information we've gotten from like the 1800s is like people retelling the history. So I don't know if we'll get any POVs from back then, but so far it's a lot going on. A lot's jam-packed in there. It might feel really cluttered and like confusing with me explaining it, but it doesn't feel that way in the book. So I'm enjoying it so far, and I'm excited to hopefully see where it goes and start to get more and more creeped out. So I'll keep you updated. Okay, you know everything I just said? I just looked at the summary and it says it way better than what I just said. So let me just read that for you. Welcome to Chapel Croft. 500 years ago, 8 Protestant martyrs were burned at the stake here. 30 years ago, 2 teenage girls disappeared without a trace. And 2 months ago, the vicar of the local parish killed himself. So it's called a vicar, not a pastor or priest. So, if my words did not make any sense, hopefully that did. To check where exactly I am in the book, but we're a good ways into it now, and there's a lot going on. There's a lot of different storylines, plot points, and I have a lot of questions. Obviously, with it being a thriller, the main character has some stuff that happened in the past that, you know, we're getting sprinkled in evidence here and there. We knew from the get-go something happened at her last church. We don't know what it is yet. Again, getting little sprinkles, but the 2 girls at the beginning that went missing that the other vicar was obsessed with. I think they have something to do with her as well. I don't exactly know what, but yeah, it's just, you know, my spidey senses are tingling. This is a really quick book, really easy to get through, but there's a lot going on. Like, if I was to try to, like, explain it all, I feel like it would be like a 2-hour long video. It's a lot, and I'm not even at the end of it yet, so it could be 4 hours by the time I actually understand what's going on. So I'm not worried about the plot points yet. I feel like they'll be able to be wrapped up nicely with how much book we have left, but I do know that sometimes when you have this many, some fall to the wayside. So fingers crossed that doesn't happen, and I keep enjoying this book, because if this book lands, it's gonna be a 5-star read. So I'm not gonna complain there at all. I just finished The Burning Girls by C.J. Tudor. That was a lot. Technically, I finished it yesterday, but I needed like essentially all day today to process what I had read. Not because it was confusing or necessarily bad, but just because it was a lot. It was a lot crammed into that last little bit. And I remember talking about all the different plot points, or like all the different storylines. They did not come together. And what I thought was the storyline of the previous vicar, the guy, that was actually someone else. It wasn't who I thought it was. So I don't know if every storyline landed 100%. So I think I'm gonna give it 4 stars. I really enjoyed it. I did. And if you're interested in it, I do recommend it. It's just, I don't know how to describe this book. I don't know how to explain this, or like, here are my final thoughts, without just like word vomiting spoilers onto you. Yeah, I don't know. I did, to help me kind of process stuff, I did watch some people's like videos and like reviews of the book, just kind of see what other people are thinking with this book, to kind of help me land on some words. But as I was doing that, I found that Paramount Plus has a TV show adapted from this book, and that TV show looks good. It looks so good. It looks like it's leaning more into like the thriller kind of horror elements, especially with like the burning girls, like the actual twig dolls, and how they like keep popping up, and they keep like, they're just a very eerie vibe, especially with the teen daughter thinking like she's seeing the actual girls that were burned. She keeps thinking that she's actually seeing them, and so like it looks like it's taking those elements, and I kind of hope it goes like a midnight mass type route, because that would be amazing. But I feel like with everything that's involved in this book, it would fit great on a TV show. So I think I'm gonna give Paramount Plus a try and watch it. I don't think I'll watch it for this video. I think I'll just watch it, you know, when I have time. One thing I'm confused about, like some of the things that fell short that I am confused about, that kept it from being 5 stars, is we find out that our main character is tied to the past storylines, and is also tied to the town in a way that we never realized before. And I'm just confused, because how she's connected is revealed to us
but it's not revealed to the other characters. It's not like a reveal moment where the other characters find out and that's how we find out. Or it's not like the other characters knew and we're just like keeping it hush hush. No, it's we find out and they don't. And I don't understand how they didn't know. I don't know. One of them knew. Maybe possibly two of them. If you've read the book and you know what I'm talking about, I don't understand how it was kept a secret for essentially the entirety of the book. Also, it comes at the end of the book to reveal some other stuff that it's like, wait, what? But not in a, I have to read this entire book again to like get a grasp and kind of look at it through the proper lens. It's more of like a, huh? That's what we're going with? Okay. But like I'm not gonna call it a big bad, because it wasn't a big bad, but just like the final action scene, so good. Whenever she starts picking up on clues and finally goes to a house to check up on things, and that's whenever things start to speed up. I thought that was done, at least that part of the storyline, you know? I thought that was done beautifully. The unraveling, the figuring things out, the putting the pieces together was done really well. I think this book just hindered itself with how many plot points and some like, you know, little discrepancies here and there. So, 4 stars. Super happy with it. And next, we're going to be reading The Blood Trials by N.E. Davenport. So let's go ahead and get into that.
I started reading The Blood Trials by N.E. Davenport, and this story is pretty much, it feels more sci-fi than fantasy. We're following our main character who has gone through this program to become, it sounds like a soldier, but her grandfather was like one of the top, the head people, and he has just recently passed, and so she's like, yeah, no, I'm not interested. But also, one thing, in this sci-fi world, there's still racism, yay! So a lot of people are kind of happy that she's not going through with this program because, you know, they don't think she deserves it. They don't think she should be there. But someone tells her that they think her grandfather was murdered and not just died, which kind of makes sense because apparently they have also godlike powers that they have to like keep under wraps. They can't let anyone know about. So now she's like super determined to get into the program to figure out who murdered her grandfather and, you know, get revenge. So that's what this story is about. And so far, the little bit that I've listened to, enough to like grasp what the story is going on and who our character is and her friends and the setup, it didn't take long. This story really lays it out very quickly, what's going on, what's happening, all the stuff that you need to set up. It gets right down to business. It starts doing it right off the bat, which I appreciate. So that way we can kind of just get into the action and get into the story. So this audiobook is a long one, but with how it is so far, the storytelling, the narrator, such a good narrator. I'm super invested, so I am perfectly content with listening to this audiobook for as long as possible. I'm just gonna go continue listening to this book and I'll let you know.
I'm 50% of the way through The Blood Trials, and these like trials that she's essentially going through, I was not expecting them to be life or death. Like whenever they were talking about, okay, like essentially like they were in like school and now it seemed like they were going into like a more specialized training, like kind of like the military kind of, but essentially like going from high school to college. I was not expecting this to be life or death, but they're like just because you got accepted into like this group of soldiers doesn't mean you're one of us, doesn't mean you're cut out to be one of us. So they're essentially trying to murder as many of them as possible through all these different trials and tribulations, and you know, whoever survives, good deal, you're one of us. So I just was not expecting that. And then as we're discovering more and more about like what happened to her grandfather, may also be like those same people maybe trying to go after her. And we've had a main suspect, but we've gotten it confirmed, or not confirmed, but now our main character doesn't believe that they're a suspect anymore. So unless they're gonna do a whole twist and be like, oh, we thought it was them, but it wasn't, and then we didn't, but it actually was them, it's not him. Yeah, this book has been really interesting, but it's also super long. And I've noticed myself kind of zoning out every once in a while. I don't know what that says. But yeah, this is like an 18-hour audiobook, and it's just really, I want to use the word intense, but not like as in like it's hardcore or it's scary or like a lot of gore or anything. I don't know. It's just very to the point of the plot that it's trying to go for. No deviations to it. And like, it's just, it doesn't fully explain everything, which I'm not saying is a bad thing, because sometimes it is really annoying when a book will just tell you something and then it explains everything about it. It's like, okay, I don't need to know everything about it. I'll pick up things as I go. But when that happens a lot with a lot of different like species and foods and terms and all that stuff, it does kind of get, like, my brain does get tired. So I'm not saying that's a negative, but I think that is one of the reasons why I keep zoning out, is because it's a long book, it's an intense book, and it just is taking a lot more brain power to focus on this book. And I'm just at the point of the month where my brain gets more brain fog. If you have a cycle, you probably know what I'm talking about. So we're getting through it, and we're halfway there. It's just an uphill battle right now to finish this book. So I got to, I'm pretty sure, like the 75% mark. I was like, oh, this is like a good stopping point. This is like ending really well. But then it kept going. And I was like, oh, is this not the ending? Okay. So I look at the audiobook on my phone, and when I finally checked it, we were at 80%. So still a little bit to go. So now I'm like, okay, well, what's gonna happen in this book to finish it up, wrap it up nicely when I thought we already did? And then what's gonna happen in the next one? So I gotta know. Also, in the scenes where one of their trials is out on a mountain that's like super cold, and they start talking about like negative 90-degree weather, negative 100-degree weather, super duper cold. I do not know how they could even stand that, even with their little suits on, because I'm over here in like 10-degree weather, and I'm complaining like a little baby. So definitely not jealous of them at all, but I'm very curious about how this book is going to end, because I thought it already had.
Okay, I finished the blood trials, and I now understand where it was going. I now understand why it kept going whenever I felt like it should have ended. So it's almost like the author knew what they were doing. I should just trust them, you know? But no, it ended in a very good spot, and I think it wrapped up very nicely, and I think it makes a lot more sense now that I realize it's a duology and not a trilogy that this series is. And actually, through trying to get the books that I need access to for this video, I thought I was getting the like other book on this list, the Bones of Ruin, but I got confused and I just borrowed the second book for this series, the Blood Gift. So I'm already reading the second one. I think I did that in the first ABC reading vlog as well, where I started reading the like second book in the series almost immediately. So maybe this is the year that I actually complete series. That's exciting. So I am listening to the second one, but I'm not gonna get too much into it, but I am enjoying it, and I'm happy that I'm reading both of these books by N.E. Davenport. But the thing you're probably wondering is, what is my star rating? I gave this book 4 stars, so another good one. I am super happy with it. Did I give it 4 stars or did I give it 3? I gave this book 4.5 stars, so another great one. The B's are already outshining the A's, no doubt about it. And so now it's time for the third book, which it's going to be Birmingham Sunday, which is a nonfiction book about the bombing that happened at the church during the civil rights movement and things like that. So I'm interested to read more about that, and I will see when it's time to update for that. Okay, so last time I let you know I was going to start reading Birmingham Sunday, and I didn't realize it was a children's book, but it's like a children's nonfiction book, so it was like 45 minutes in audiobook form, so it wasn't exactly what I was looking for whenever I was wanting to get a book about it. So it was a fine book. It was a good book for like little kids wanting to learn about the real things that happened in our society, but it just wasn't what I was looking for, so I ended up kind of using that as like a stepping off point to find some other like adult books around the topic, especially like diving in more into like the civil rights era and things like that. So I technically got this book off my TBR. I finished it, but I added like 3-4 more books in its place because it wasn't what I was after. It is what it is. But I ended up giving it like 3 stars. Like I said, it was a good children's book. Very easy, good introduction of like talking about this stuff, but not being too harsh with its information and its vividness, but also not like shying away and being like, oh, people did some bad things. Like, it had a very good balance in between there. So I ended up starting the last book that we're going to be reading, The Bones of Ruin by Sarah Raughley. And I'm like halfway through that book now, but I'm enjoying this book a lot. There's like essentially 2 main characters. One is this like guy who's involved in this like super high elite secret society, and he's trying to figure some things out, trying to find his dad and things like that. And he's using this girl, who is our other main character, as like a way to do that. And she is, when we first meet her, she's in a circus, and she's kind of like a tightrope walker, like gymnast, acrobatic, whatever you want to call it, and also like fights with swords.
but she has like a special ability where like she can't die, or like she does die but she can't like stay dead. And it's like quite graphic in the whenever it describes the moments that she does die and like it comes back to life. It's very graphic. It's not like nauseating or anything, but it's just like, oh, okay. But they're coming together, and one thing I'm confused by is there's like these games, and she's on the male POV's team, and if they win, he gets to rule the world or something like that. I don't know. It's very confusing. I don't really get that part of this story. Also, I was convinced at the beginning that for some reason he said that she was his mom, but I don't think so. I don't know. There's just been some parts that have been quite confusing for me, but I've been enjoying it overall, and like unraveling her story, and like because she doesn't remember anything, so unraveling it, it's fun. I've liked that there's a whole bunch of people with other special abilities, not just her, and figuring them out and things like that, so it's fun. I'm halfway through it. We'll see how it goes. But I'll actually be able to update you more with this book than I was with Birmingham Sunday.
So I'm like 80% of the way through The Bones of Ruin, and I don't know how this book is gonna end happy. It feels like it's just gonna, like, it's just sad. Like, as she's learning as she's learning more about herself, it's just sad because she was possibly like a terrible, horrible person, and like her mission of why she is the way she is to like, you know, continue to do terrible, horrible things. And then within the context of the challenge, it kind of seems like there's no real winner, and these rich people are just using these fanciful freaks for their own entertainment, but they're kind of dangling riches in front of them, but doesn't seem like it's actually gonna happen. I don't know. I don't see how this can turn out with a happy ending. It just feels very sad and depressing, and like there's no win-win for anyone, but we'll see. I finished The Bones of Ruin, and it didn't feel like it ended. It ended. The audiobook definitely ended. I read it all, but the content inside of it did not end. It did not wrap up. Like, I get that it's a series, but it didn't wrap up really much of anything except explaining who she was. And then the way that the contest wrapped up was so, I don't know, not like, it's like, oh, I have invested all this time into this, and that's how it's gonna end? Like, okay. It felt like a letdown. That ending felt like a letdown. And I'm pretty sure I said in a clip earlier that I was just expecting this, like, the only way this could end would just be sad. And it wasn't sad. Like, it was a little sad, but like, it also just didn't end. And like conclude. And then like the last 10 minutes, we get this like different POV that we've not gotten. Like the entire book has been mainly just Iris's POV. We got a little bit at the beginning of Adam, I believe is his name. We got his POV at the very beginning, and it kind of swapped back and forth, but it did that like 3 or 4 times, and then it was mainly just Iris. And so to get this POV
of this random person that we've never seen throughout this book was really confusing, and I can't tell if it's the person, like it was the POV of the person who gave her her ability or made her who she is, or if it's her but in a different reincarnation or something. I don't know. I'm confused on who that was, but I guess I could find out if I continue to read the series, but honestly, I don't think I'm going to continue reading it. It was fun and enjoyable, but I don't know, that ending, it didn't make me want to like pick up the next book. It made me want to be like, oh, kind of turned me off a little bit. So I gave it 3 stars because majority of the book I enjoyed. I did enjoy it. It's just that ending didn't really land with me. So 3 stars. We're kind of ending on a not so positive note when a lot of the other books have been pretty good this time. So to wrap this up, we had The Brownie Girls by C.J. Tudor, and I gave that book 4 stars. The Blood Gift by N.E. Davenport, I gave 4.5 stars. Birmingham Sunday by Larry Dane Brimner, I gave 3 stars. And then The Bones of Ruin by Sarah Raughley, I gave 3 stars as well. So my average rating is 3.63. So I can't remember if that's higher or lower than the A's. I want to say it's higher. I'd have to look again. I can't remember. But I'm pretty sure it's higher. B's are already above A's. So if we continue on this, you know, we'll just keep reading better and better books. Which, I'm all for that. The next time I'll see you is in the vlog where we read books that start with the letter C. Unless you watch my other content. And then I'll see you way sooner than that. But thank you so much for watching. Let me know if you've read any of these and what your thoughts on them were, or if you're doing this challenge, what books on your TBR did you pick to fill the B slot? Thank you so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed, and I hope you're having a fantastic day. And if not, I hope this video made your day just a little bit better. So thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!